Whether it's confronting suffering related to HIV/AIDS in Africa and Asia, or securing basic rights for Roma communities in Europe, George Soros's philanthropy goes way beyond simple charity. And to date, Mr. Soros has given $7 billion to support human rights, freedom of expression, and access to public health. I'm delighted that Mr. Soros is focusing some of his time and energy and leadership and experience on climate change. Mr. Soros, as chairman of Soros Fund Management and the Open Society Institute, over to you.
Thank you. I bring a somewhat different perspective than the previous speaker, Andrew Steer, whom I greatly admire, and I also fully agree with his list of priorities, so that's not where the disagreement is. I have not been active in about climate change because I thought that there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen. They don't need another one. But then I went to the Copenhagen conference, and that convinced me that actually one needs to get involved, because if you leave it to the governments, no much progress will be made. So I became involved after the Copenhagen conference exactly because that conference didn't accomplish anything except to keep the negotiations open. And the negotiations themselves take place in a very, in an area which is far removed from reality. So the discussion is whether keeping global warming within 2 degrees is sufficient. We really need to keep it within 1.5 degrees. And the discussion keep on, but the climate change is also going on at the same time. And if we just keep on discussing and we don't actually do something about it, the gap between what needs to be done and what's actually happening is getting wider. And that's what's happening now. And so we need to do something, we have to start producing practical results. And that is what I'm committed to. I have focused personally on 2 areas. One is rainforests, and the other one is taking carbon out of coal. Because these are, I think, 2 choke points that really need to be resolved if we want to keep global warming anywhere near 2 degrees. In the case of rainforests, particularly in Indonesia, the forests which have grown on peatlands are being invaded, and as the peat dries out, it catches fire, and carbon that was accumulating over millennia is released into the air. So Indonesia today is the 3rd largest polluter after China and the United States. And as of now, half the peatlands have actually begun to emit carbon instead of saving it. The other half is still intact. And if we don't keep it intact, actually carbon emissions are going to double from that area. So that's one area of focus. And I think very real progress is being made. I'm not in a position to announce anything, but it is because it's just happening. But I hope that by Cancun, this will be something that can be brought out as a practical accomplishment. And I think we very much need that in order to keep the international, give some momentum to the international negotiations, in which I think the public is beginning to lose faith. So this happens to be the areas where I concentrated, but I think everybody must, since the problem is so immense and so varied, that everybody has to find some area, and we must all pull together and start producing practical results. Thank you.